Welcome to September's Agency Admin Webinar. Our agenda for today will first review reminders for the webinar. We will go over announcements, and our trainings for today are the fiscal year 2026 HMIS data standards, the SACE coordinated entry workflow refresher, and we will also review the housing move-in date. So please share relevant information with the appropriate staff at your agency. Ask questions using the Q&A function, and attendance is collected by survey completion at the end of the session. Webinar recording and notes will be sent out by Monday, October 6th, and Friday, October 10th is the deadline to complete the video and webinar quiz for anybody who was not able to attend today. So our announcements are the Maricopa annual invoicing and security check process has begun. You should have received those notices for the Maricopa County agencies, and the balance of state security check will begin later this month. Also, we are currently reviewing a new process for the biannual DQ check. We will explain the process a bit more here in a moment. And then also for the Maricopa COC, the VI SPDAT has been retired for the singles coordinated entry. And also the annual refresher training is going to begin October 13th. We are going to give users a month to complete the training. And this year's training is going to cover the homeless history questions on the UDE assessment, and then also the new data standards. So for this year's annual DQ check, we are considering a new method. The new method would be a public dashboard where providers would be de-identified. Again, the new method is under review, and input from providers is welcome. You can go ahead and just send us an email at the HMIS Help Desk. So now we will review the fiscal year 2026 data standards. So there are some retired fields this year. There will be updated fields, new fields added, reporting changes, and then we will go over next steps. So the retired fields are going to be 3.06 gender, R3 sexual orientation, and C4 translation assistance. 3.06 gender was on the universal data element and was collected by all projects. The retired field also includes the data element if different identity, please specify. So that will be retired as well. And these fields are not going to be marked retired. They will be removed from the assessment. And so gender does not map to the new field 4.21 sex. And also communities can decide to continue using this element on the UDEs. Currently, both COCs are reviewing this and should come to a decision later this month. If the COCs decide not to continue using the data element, any provider can choose to continue collecting this information. And it is unknown what funding or contracts will stipulate regarding using this element. So R3 sexual orientation, again, will be retired. This was a RISE specific data element and was collected by Youth Homeless Demonstration Program, COC Permanent Supportive Housing, Unsheltered Special NOFO, and rural special NOFO. And this will again not be marked retired. It will be off of the assessments completely. And any provider can choose to continue collecting this information. Again, it is unknown what funding or contracts will stipulate. So C4 translation assistance. This was formerly a COC funded data element. It was collected by HUD funded programs like ESG, Unsheltered Special NOFO, Rural Special NOFO, and HOPWA. And this also will not be marked retired. It will be off of the assessments. And this again is also being considered by the COCs whether to continue using this data element on the UDE. Again, that decision will be later towards the end of this month. But if the COCs do decide not to use these elements, any provider can choose to continue collecting this information.
Next, we have a few updated fields. I'll go through these pretty quickly just for the purposes of time, but we'll break these down here. Let's see here. And Frankie, do you want to read that question?
Do we know what the sex field options will be? Hoping we can start prepping staff to collect this data on all current clients. That's from Christopher.
Yes. So the options will be male, female, client doesn't know, client prefers not to answer, and data not collected. And we'll show a slide with that information later on as well. But those are the options. Really, it boils down to male or female.
Anna asks, is there a timeline expected for when we will know about translation assistance being retired?
It would be at the end of October for Maricopa County. So that is when the next board meeting is, when they review that recommendation. And for Balance of State, it would be around the same time, but I'm not exactly sure of when this Balance of State's board meeting is. Good questions. So for the next set of updates, we have a lot of fields that have been updated in various ways. So the first update two are around race and ethnicity and housing movement date. So the language and race and ethnicity has been changed from Hispanic, Latina /E/O to Hispanic, Latina /O. This is also around some guidance from the administration, so they dropped the additional E there. The housing movement date is now required for some GPD case management housing retention programs where it was not before. So we'll go ahead and that field, the housing movement date, is available for those programs already, but they will have to integrate that housing movement date into their workflow. The next updates we have are on PDEs. So this is just changing who's required to collect some information. So some of the disabling condition subassessments or the disabling condition subassessment is no longer required to be collected by HUD-VASH and some GPD VA funded programs. These will still be available for data collection, but they're no longer technically required to be collected by the projects listed here. Data of engagement is also now required for youth homeless demonstration projects. So if you have that project or in the future are looking to be funded through a youth homeless demonstration grant, you'd be required to collect the data of engagement. These either ways have very wide-reaching impacts. There are some updates around RIE. So the first one is family critical issues. Basically, we're updating the pick list a little bit. And then give me 1 second. I'm having just a slight issue. Okay, so it actually looks like I just had the wrong version up. So this is just a little more condensed. So let me go ahead and share the screen once again. But basically, it's the same information. So again, we're just going through updated fields. So starting with the wording changes, we already mentioned race and ethnicity. One of the veteran fields for homeless prevention, the homeless prevention targeting criteria, is also going through some word changes. So you can see the parts in yellow are the pieces that have been changed. We can also provide this presentation to anybody who would like to see it. So I don't know if we can send that with the AATW notes, but if you submit a ticket to the help desk or request it in the chat, I'd be happy to send it your way directly. But there's just some updated wording for that homeless prevention targeting criteria. We already mentioned the collection changes for HUD-VASH data collection and, well, the disabling conditions. HUD-VASH, there's just a clarification. There's 3 RIDED elements that HUD-VASH programs used to collect. This is just a clarification that only certain components of HUD-VASH.
Lisa asked, will you be putting up the RIE info slide again?
Yes, we can. So the next thing is there are a few fields with some additional options. One of them is a RIE-related field for family critical issues. This isn't a very significant change. You used to be able to select yes, no, or data not collected. Now you can also select client doesn't know and client prefers not to answer. In addition, there's 2 more fields for the veteran-funded programs, SSVF programs, that are being changed slightly. The first one is for services provided. Healthcare navigation will be a new option in the new data standards. And then for financial assistance, they're going to add a start date of financial assistance field for clarity. So there'll be 3 fields total. And there'll be a start date of financial assistance, which is when the financial assistance began. There'll be an end date when it ends. So for example, if it was rent from August 1st to August 31st, there'll be a start date and end date. And date provided is now becoming the date the need was identified. So if back in July 15th, you realized the client needed some rent assistance, July 15th would be that date provided. I find this to be very bizarre language personally. So we'll have sort of some clarity around that in the annual refresher training as well. But some language there is bizarre. As a note, we'll cover the official release of data standards in a little bit. So.
There's a question from Kim. I thought it was the date the check was cut.
And that could be. The guidance we've received so far is from the vendor WellSky, so I'm using their language. HUD has not yet officially released the 2026 data standards. So we are going off our best knowledge based on the vendors' updates, because they do work with HUD directly to know what the system will change. And it's very possible that the actual release 2026 data standards will have the official guidance with better language. HUD is aware that those data standards have not been officially released yet, but the guidance is still to move forward with updates regardless.
We have a question from Christopher. Are the SSVF changes for accrual? Got that word right, it's hard for me. If we're paying back rent, is the start date of financial assistance backdated while the date provided is the date identified?
This is a fantastic question. I'm going to read this again to make sure I'm comprehending completely. I am not entirely sure. I know for back rent, there is a service that is not rental assistance, and the guidance in the VA data guide says that for back rent, you use the date, the assistance provided and not what dates it covers technically. But I'm not sure what that will look like with a start and end date and a date provided. So it's a great question, and we'll have to follow up on that.
And then we have one from Kim. For rental arrears, you use the date the check was cut, so within the program enrollment date.
Okay, and I think that's just in response to the previous question about the back rent. Or
Thank
the back
you, Kim.
paper rent. Okay, and this brings us to our new fields with the 2026 data standards. There's 2 new fields. The first one is sex, and the second one is mental health consultation. So this will be interesting because the collection location will not be on any assessment. So gender, for example, could be collected on the UDE assessment. Sex will not operate in the same way. It will only be available on the client profile, which is the same location that you would find the client's social security number, their name, their alias, as well as if they're a veteran. So that is where you would enter and update the client profile for sex. This is technically required to be collected by all project types except housing with services, day shelters, and coordinated entry. There's probably a good benefit of collecting this information for all these project types, but per the HUD requirements, these 3 are exempted from collecting that information. On the next slide, I'm just going to show exactly for clarity where that is. So again, this field will only be collected on the client profile. So you click on the client profile number 1, you will click the edit icon number 2, and sex will be updated at this location here. As I said, same place that you would find social security number, veteran, and so forth. And then to Chris's earlier question, the options for this field are on the right, which is male, female, and the 3 additional options for doesn't know, for person to answer, and data not collected. And we'll also touch base on the collection requirements just at the end of this segment. The next field that's new is V10 mental health consultation. This is required for SSVF clients who are entering on October 1st or afterwards. You will not have to do backdate entry for clients already in SSVF programs, but it's required for the both the rapid rehousing and homeless prevention components starting on 10/1. The pick list options are listed below. There's 4 of them. So the first one's mental health consultation completed, mental health consultation being arranged with the VA provider. The third one is mental health consultation being arranged with another provider, or if the offer was declined. Again, this will be available next week, and it will be required to be collected at entry. And those are the 2 new fields that we have. There are some reporting things we want to mention as well. So we have some removed data elements. There's some minor changes to inactive records on the APR and the CAPR, and we'll go over some additional changes as well as implementation. So the biggest one is gender has been removed from all the following reports, basically all of them. So data quality, the APR, the CAPR, the PATH report. You have a CAN report that's related to a federal report. Gender will be removed from that report. Sexual orientation will be also removed from the HUD CSV, which is broken down into the hash CSV as well as the VA repository export.
We have a question from Heather. Is gender being removed from custom reports?
Gender is not being removed from custom reports. So at this time, we're going to keep them on the custom reports as normal. If the COC board does go ahead and say, hey, we want to keep on collecting this information, we'll just keep gender on those reports indefinitely. If the COC board does decide to remove gender from the UDE, that does become sort of complicated because if fewer people are collecting that data over time, then those reports become less accurate in terms of collecting gender. So that is a situation, but at this time, we're not removing gender from any reports. And even if the COC board decided it would not be UDE, we would still keep gender on those reports, quite honestly.
Heather said, thank you and understood. And we have an anonymous. Will you be providing new HMIS intake forms?
We will indeed. They will go ahead and reflect these changes. The biggest one will be reflecting the additional field of sex. Gender and translation assistance wouldn't be updated until the end of the month, if at all. But we'll also be updating those SSVF forms for those additional options for services, the additional date field for financial assistance, and that mental health consultation.
Question from Kim. Will the current data in gender go into the new sex field, or will we need to go in and update any current clients as of 10/1?
The gender field will not map to the sex field, so it'll be completely blank for all clients going forward. The HUD has said that you are required to collect sex for clients enrolling on 10/1 going forward. You don't technically have to backdate it, but HUD then did say that you have to update the field if you provide any services to the client. So if the client's been enrolled for many months and on the 15th you do an annual assessment with them, you would theoretically then go ahead and update the sex field as well. But unfortunately, that will not map over from gender.
Another question from Heather. For custom reports, would we need to request an addition for sex?
That is a good question. I would recommend submitting a ticket initially to update customer reports to have sex included. We could go through a more thorough process to decide which reports need to have that updated. But at this time, I would recommend submitting a ticket, especially for ones that are urgent. You probably are not going to be, it probably be super useful right away because literally no client in the system will have that field completed. So it will take some time to build up that information. These are all fantastic questions. The next thing that's changing is that there's a change to inactive records. This is really applicable to street outreach and night-by-night shelters. Basically, this table looks at clients who've not been contacted in about 90 days based on the current living situation. This used to be applicable to street outreach and shelter night-by-night shelters. They changed it so it's applicable to street outreach and path-funded SSO instead. But functionally, the table works exactly the same if it is a table that you have interfaced with before. There's a few additional changes that are super minor. There's some changes to the system performance measures that are just not impactful, that are really around wording and some clarifications. The only report that I've seen officially adding sex at this point is the path report. And so there may be others that might be updated as well, but this is the only official one I've seen per WellSky's guidance. And then the final thing about reporting is that this stage will only accept fiscal year 2026 APRs, CAPRs, and quarter entry APRs after 10/1. So we're going to update the system with the new data standards beginning on Monday morning on October, I suppose that is the 6th. They'll be updated overnight on the 5th into the 6th. We've generally delayed it a few days in the past because often when you're the first one to get the data standard changes, you are the first one to realize there are some critical errors in the updates WellSky has pushed out. So we'll be sending out additional communications to all the users between now and Sunday. But on Monday morning, you'll be able to go ahead and run those 2026 APRs, CAPRs, and so forth. But Sage will only be accepting those 2026 versions starting October 1st.
We do have a question from Tracy. Are you aware that the current HMIS intake packet does not match the drop-down on UDE homeless primary reason?
I 100% was not aware of that, and that is fantastic information to have. So Stephanie, if you could just write a note on that, we can go ahead and get that fixed while we update everything else on those intake forms as well. Thank you, Tracy. Let's see here. The PATH annual report, as you do about mid-December, so I'm not sure that report will be updated right away, to be quite honest. Ryder Exports will start using the hashed CSV in October. And then for VA exports specifically, the fiscal year 2024 CSV will be available for annual reporting through the 15th of October. So it'll be really important to get any reporting that you need in between the 1st and the 15th. After the 15th, WellSky is planning to retire the 2024 CSV and only have the 2026 CSV. So for VA reporting, starting in November, you'll be using the fiscal year 2026 CSV, but for October, you'll be using the fiscal year 2024 CSV. Okay. And our final section, just next steps. So we talked about some of these already. The first one is around gender. The big question I talked about previously, does gender remain on the UDE assessment? As I mentioned, I'll be going to lived experience and the access and opportunity groups and to the COC board as well. So more news on that to come. This is the same situation for translation assistance. Again, more news as we get final approvals through the COC process. That's both Maricopa and Balance Estate. And then for historical data entry, there's a new field, sex, there's V10 mental health consultation. So no back data entry will be required for new data elements. There will be a 90-day grace period for data collection after the data standards are released. So as a note, the data standards have not been released yet. So if the data standards were released officially tomorrow, we'd have it from October 1st plus 90 days to start up that data collection for fields, sex, and mental health consultation. If it's a situation where HUD does not release data standards until October 20th, you'd have from October 20th plus 90 days before you have to require to start collecting that information as well. It will all be available on Monday morning, the 6th for collection, but this is the guidance we've been given to GUD. Been given by HUD, good. And then as I mentioned previously, clients being served after 10/1/2025 should also have their information updated. I'm thinking specifically, this would be for the field sex. Here's a note. We scheduled the downtime for Sunday night on the 5th at 10 p.m. for the site to be updated to sort of try to minimize the impact. but we'll send out some communications to the whole system as well for both Maricopa and Balance Estate about that scheduled downtime about 10 p.m. on Sunday. So those are the data standards. A lot of this information will also be in the annual refresher training as well. But thank you. So I'll kick it back to Stephanie.
Okay, and we'll have Allie go ahead and go over the coordinated entry part.
Yeah, hi everyone. So we're just going to do a little bit of an overview on the coordinated entry workflow, kind of talk about the importance of it and making sure that data is collected thoroughly. And then we'll kind of go on the next slide, which Frankie will present. We'll be talking about the current living situation and also, again, how the importance of that as well. Coordinated entry workflow is usually when you have a client in the coordinated entry. In coordinated entry, you open their entry and you have those 3 assessments, that UDE, coordinated entry and vulnerability assessment, and SACE, coordinated entry custom assessment. So the importance of those and ensuring that those are completed will helps and creates a standard way to collect client information across all agencies. Ensures that clients are assessed consistently and fairly, helps determine client housing needs, their level of vulnerability, and kind of prioritizes them for services. It serves as a key pathway for adding clients to the by name list. I'm sure y'all have seen a few of those emails. And kind of helps drives referrals to the most appropriate housing and services to make sure that if they're going to a service, it's actually going to be useful and meaningful to them. It will support system level data used for local reporting, funding, and measuring performances, and then also just ensuring accurate and timely assessments. When you have that, it's a better chances for clients to get matched to housing, kind of stops some of the delays that might happen. So it's really important that everything is completed in its entirety. Also with coordinated entry, it is a same day entry exit. So you do it, if you do a client and coordinated entry today, they will have that exit date of today as well. And then we'll kick it over to Frankie.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to also talk about the current living situation, also known as CLS, within our coordinated entry system. Current living situation is a required HMIS data element that records exactly where the client is staying at the time of contact. It's more than just a data point. It documents interactions, tracks progress, and helps identify client needs, such as in shelter and housing, IOPs, stuff like that. It's accurate and consistent CLS entries that are critical because they directly impact, outcomes and keep clients active on the by name list, ensuring more opportunities for their housing needs. CLS, current living situation, also collects the client's reported living situation, location, and coordinates, which guides referrals to the most appropriate housing services. That information, along with other HMIS data, is then used to prioritize clients for housing based on levels of need. Tools like the mapping tool assign vulnerability scores that help determine who is most in need of housing, supporting accurate eligibility, fair prioritization, and better matches for clients within the coordinated entry system. Any questions on those 2 slides?
Sorry, there weren't any questions, Frankie.
Thank you.
Oh, is there a question?
We'll wait a moment just to see if there's a question answered. So it's either a yes was a question or yes, like fantastic job, just cheering. So it could be both.
So on the 3 assessments, when I hit save and exit, how do I go back to the assessments?
Yes, that is a good question. We'll pull up the site. So we'll pull up the service or community service site to take a quick look at that. But in the meantime,
Stephanie Duncan?
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie said, is there going to be an update to the UDE element that has disabling conditions linked to it?
If Stephanie, you mean that the disability sub-assessment and the question on the UDE, does the time a disabling condition, will they be like linked in some sort of logical, systematic way? The answer is no, not that I'm aware of. If I'm missing the mark on that, please let me know if you meant something else.
She said, yeah, for the coordinated entry slide.
Oh, I see. Because court entry doesn't generally go ahead and collect that PDE, that disability sub-assessment. So there isn't a way in the system for those two to be linked.
Do you want to answer that one question or continue reading other ones?
Yes. So I believe I understand what the question is, but I'm also guilty of not understanding things sometimes. Oh, they just updated the site as well. So, okay. So the CE side. Okay, and this is for, sounds like coordinated entry. So I'm just gonna pick a random one here, search for a client.
Not sharing.
Oh, that would not be helpful if I'm not sharing, would it? Well, unfortunately, Frankie did a fantastic job of cleaning up the training site, so there's no quick and easy accessible user IDs.
Oh, sorry.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. So otherwise, we don't have everything matching, and it becomes a whole problem. So, but I know our test client, and I happen to have Maricopa County up by heart. So I'm not sure entirely this is what we're looking at, but I'm going to send a request to share, Stephanie. So this is our test client. So if I go ahead and add an entry exit, I just picked a random SACE entry point. I'll go ahead and save and continue. I believe the question is, you go ahead and you've completed all of the intake assessments and so forth. You click save and exit, and the question is, how do you get back to see that information once again? And I'll go ahead and exit the client properly. Since we asked everyone else to do it, I can go ahead and do that as well. To go see the information, you can go to the enrollment that you created for your particular agency. You can go to this pencil icon. It says edit entry if you hover over it, and it'll click save and continue, and it'll bring up the assessments, and you can just jump to them to see what information that you entered. This is my understanding of what you are asking, but if this is missing the mark, please just let me know, and we'll go ahead and navigate that a little better.
Okay. More questions? Bob is asking, if a new intake packet is generated, how will that be pushed out?
We can send a notice to all users that our Solari website has been updated with those new packets. So we just send a mass update. We can have the point of contacts, the primary point of contacts, as well as all users. We can also put a link on the community services homepage, just letting users know about it as well.
Okay. We have Christine. I've learned to just hit save so they don't go away, but sometimes I forget and can't find how to get back to them.
And I think that's what we just went over, how you get back to that by clicking that edit entry icon.
And I think the other one is just to you, Sam.
Okay.
Tracy asked, is an estimated date of when the packets will be rolled out?
We're looking for next week.
Go ahead, Steph.
Okay. Yeah, we are almost out of time, so we'll go ahead and go over the housing move-in date portion. So again, just an overview, refresher of the housing move-in date for you all. So the housing move-in date is required for heads of households, and this applies to all permanent housing components. So the project types are permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, other permanent housing with housing only, or other permanent housing with services, and no disability required for entry. Move-in, the term move-in means a lease agreement or arrangement, sorry, has been made, and the client has a key or entry ability to the unit, and the client has physically slept in the unit. So that's what HUD is calling the move-in. And this is just kind of a timeline showing when and where you can add the housing move-in date. So at project start date, so this is the client being admitted into the project. The housing move-in date can be the same as the project start date, again, as long as that move-in requirement is met, that they have the keys to the unit and they have slept in the unit. So that would be their housing move-in date, which again sometimes does occur with the project start date. If the client does not move in on the project start date, the housing move-in date would be added to an interim update. So that's for any move-in date that is after the project start date. It goes on to an interim update. And then the exit date, so this is just the time frame to which a housing move-in date can be added. So HUD says a housing move-in date must be a date occurring on or between the project start date and the project exit date. And then also just some points we wanted to make here as far as the housing move-in date. So it is critical to the housing inventory count and the point in time counts because it distinguishes housed households and households that are still experiencing literal homelessness. So sleeping in a place not meant for habitation, an emergency shelter or safe haven. And then also if the client vacates a housing situation and the project stops paying rental assistance, the staff should exit the client from the project with an accurate project exit date and destination and create a new project start date in a second enrollment for the client on the same or following date. So if the client is evicted, you would exit them and then create a new project start date or a new entry for them. So you can add a new housing move-in date when they do find another place. And then if a client is just moving units, you don't have to exit them or create a new entry because they are still there wasn't any time spent homeless. They're just moving units. So, any questions on the housing move-in date or anything else we have covered so far?
That might be a record for the number of questions we received throughout the ATW, so that's good.
I don't see any coming in now. So, okay, so we'll stay on for a bit if there is a question that does come up, but we did want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, don't forget to complete the survey at the end of the webinar. Also, sorry, we forgot to mention though, we are encouraging you all to give us feedback on our tickets. We forgot to mention that earlier, so just to let us know how we can better serve you. We highly encourage feedback on the tickets that we complete for you all.
There's usually
again,
there's usually a review at the end when we send the ticket as complete. There'll be a review there where you can make comments and any concerns or any of that.
there's a question here.
Yeah, I'll read it out. The question is that the PowerPoint will be sent out, correct?
Yes, we can send that out with the notes.
And just circling back to the feedback from the ticketing portal, we do review that every month, actually on a regular basis. So we do appreciate that feedback, but that is something that we actually do look at. And when we do receive any ratings that are particularly not good, we go ahead and reach out to see what we can improve the next time. I hope everyone finds a great time this month painting and carving pumpkins. But it's nice to see everybody in the ATW. Hope you have a good rest of your day.